That's so unfair, Tom argued. Anyway, if you'd let me go to the local school, I could go by bus. It's your decision to destroy the planet for my education. My school is rubbish, by the way. I hate it there. I glanced at Tom, stung by this rebuke. But seeing him smile, I reached out to touch his face. His skin felt rough, where part-healed spots and stubble had replaced the child's soft cheeks. I felt the frustration drain from me. Tom, I said with exaggerated patience, I know what you think of the Mount, but there wasn't a choice. Not once you'd been asked to leave Ashridge Grange. The school has to be secure. Your dad is clear about that. Tom grunted. That says more about Dad than me, don't you think? It doesn't matter what I think, I sighed. We crawled past Victorian parks and churches framed by elegant Edwardian terraces. These prosperous streets were followed by rows of red brick terraces and small shops selling Asian sweets and jewellery. Dad and I lived here when we were students, just up that street there. Did I ever tell you? You've mentioned it once or twice. That co-op, it used to be a proper greengrocer. Yeah, you've said that too. We inched through more traffic in silence, until at last a flyover led to a ring road, which I'd read had ripped out the city's medieval heart. I decided not to mention this to Tom. The traffic began to flow, and we reached the last 15 minutes of our journey home, turning off a dual carriageway through the mirrored glass and steel of a new business park, promising more shopping and housing to claim a wasteland that had once been farms. The city stuttered and fell away into narrow lanes, heavy with hawthorn berries. Through the open top, I caught the spicy scent of yarrow, which crowded the verges, and slowed the car to turn into our village. The cottages that lined the main street were almost all built of honey-coloured stone, but the village pub was rendered and whitewashed, standing out from its neighbours like one good tooth. The pub's hanging baskets were beginning to fade, and the cottages looked rested and expectant, on the edge of summer's end. Outside a high brick wall, built to match the colour of the village, we waited for the electronic gates to recognise us. They trembled, then hesitated, as if unsure, before inching open. I circled the car around the barren fountain, a little too fast, tyres dragging in the gravel, and parked below the threshold of our newly built Queen Anne-style house. The electronic gates would deter anyone who was after Carl's ideas, since industrial espionage was a more gentlemanly affair, I now understood, than rough old burglary. Was this really true? Or were our fancy gates an early sign of Carl's paranoia, when such arguments still lay on the right side of normal? Tom tossed his schoolbag under the hall table and ran upstairs to his bedroom, calling out, "What's to eat?" from the landing. The slam of his bedroom door left no room for a reply. I held myself in the cool hall and smelt furniture polish underlaid by freesias. The gilt mirror reflected the flowers, and above them, my face, dark shadows under the eyes and deep lines around my mouth. I pulled my cheeks up towards my ears, which stretched my lips, making me look even more canine than usual. A tight, angry feeling returned, crouching like a weight on my forehead. Blood throbbed in my ears. To the mirror, I repeated the words I'd just said to Dan. Do you think we'll ever be together? Why had I bothered to ask him? We'd had this conversation before. It never led anywhere. Today, with my world about to change, I had forced him to say it again. Alice, you know I can't leave Sarah and the children. You said you felt the same about Carl and your family. Things might be different one day. You know how much I want to be with you. I had pushed him again, challenging. What we have only works if things go on the same. But they won't. They can't. Dan had frowned at me, puzzled, and brushed his lips across mine, disregarding that we might be observed. Then we'll cross that bridge together. In the kitchen, Honey slowly became aware that she might not be alone. She scented the air and listened, her head on one side, then stood up in her basket and shook herself, stretching her legs and wagging her tail in a half-hearted greeting, not quite certain.